Knobloch's Dance presents Dance Behind the Screen, Process Production and Social Media. Hey knowers, welcome to our podcast. We are Knobloch's Dance, a social media-based company. We strive to say no to the box. We connect interdisciplinary art, technology, and artists to re-envision the process of art making and sharing.
Everybody, and welcome back to Dance Behind the Screen podcast. We're your co-hosts, Reyna Mondragon and
YeaJean Joy.
Yay! Today we got to interview Bettina Wagner-Bergelt.
Yes.
Which was really exciting. She took over the artistic director of Tanztheater Wuppertal Pina Bausch on January 1st of 2019, so that was really exciting. Some more facts. From 2000 to 2016, she was deputy director of the Bayerisch Stunt Ballet. And from 1990 to 2016, she's head of dramaturg. Bettina Wagner-Bergelt studied German and Spanish literature with theater and film studies in Cologne and Berlin. And she is currently married with two wonderful children.
On this episode, Bettina shared her experiences as an artistic director of the Tanztheater Wuppertal Pina Bausch, how they're handling the circumstance of coronavirus, how people shift consuming dance because of the evolution of social media, and she shared her thoughts what things we can learn from this crisis of social distancing.
Yes, so stay tuned and listen.
Yes, enjoy the show. Can you briefly walk our audience through your career path and how you ended up with Tanztheater Wuppertal Pina Bausch, please?
Oh, yes, sure. Well, actually, I started to study to become a dramaturg for normal prose theater. And then suddenly, when I first started my first job in Frankfurt at a theater that had been founded especially in order to produce only fringe productions from all over the world and react in a way to the new development of fringe theater that occurred everywhere suddenly, and what was very political also, and created all kinds of new formats like street theater and mixtures between circus and theater, and all these very, very exciting forms that had been created in the end of the 70s in a way. And when I started the beginning of the 80s, that was all very, very alive everywhere, very present, and so this theater was, in a way, reacting to this development. And I went there first to be an apprentice for a couple of months. And then I found out that I liked this theater much more than what we call in Germany Stadttheater, the normal theater, the very conventional, traditional theater that deals with literature. So I liked this interdisciplinary way of working, and and at the same time, William Forsythe started working in the Schauspielhaus, in the opera house. So that was my first encounter with contemporary dance in a way, based on the classical technique. And I found out that I like all this much more than traditional theater, so I decided to stay with that. And I worked there for 5 years, and I was really very much into dance and interdisciplinary projects and performances. And then I went to Munich, and I became the associate director in the cultural department of the city of Munich for dance, music, and theater, which I also liked because it was again an interdisciplinary challenge in a way, because this department had to cope with all these forms, with music as well as theater and dance. So I learned a lot, and I was working with people like we had concerts with John Cage and Meredith Monk, and we had a lot of. Oh my God. And it was something very exciting for me, and I invented and founded. I founded the Munich Dance Festival. which is still going on. It's
That's fantastic.
I think it's the oldest festival in Germany, actually. And and then I founded a family. I got pregnant, and I decided to try to start a more stable life, not traveling so much anymore. And then they asked me to become the dramaturg responsible for the contemporary repertoire in the Opera House in Munich, with a big company of 68 people. And this company, which was also a political act in a way, just became independent from the opera. So normally in Germany, it's a so-called Drei-Sparten theater. So it's one theater with 3 different departments: opera, theater, and dance. And dance was always the one depending on the opera. They never had their own budget. They never had their own team, which knew, which was really competent in dance. It was normally like an annex to the opera, and it was a very, very important step in Munich. That I think we were the first company that really got independent and equal to opera and theater. So from then on, we were no longer called Ballet of the Bavarian State Opera, but we were called Bavarian State Ballet, equal to Bavarian State Opera, Bavarian State Schauspiel. So really a very, very important step. And in a way, I was the one to build this new company together with a director who was a very classical woman. She was a former ballerina, and she made the concept for this whole project, and we started together. And then Ivan Liška took over after a couple of years, and Ivan Liška and I were really like a good team, a very good team, with a third colleague who was a specialist on classical ballet. So we formed a good trio. One was responsible for the dancers in the studio. One was responsible for the classical part of the repertoire, and I was responsible for the contemporary, which was really what I always wanted and what always most. So I did that for, listen carefully, 27 years.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Stayed there in Munich. I think it was a little too long. I should have decided to leave earlier. But, it was fun. It was a wonderful job I could do, and realized everything that I wanted to do. And I built up, together with my colleagues, one of the probably most interesting repertoires in the world. That we had fantastic masterpieces from the 19th century contemporary to Saburo Teshigawara and Lucinda Childs and people like that. It was a big variety of contemporary dance of all kinds, all styles, all idioms and handwriting, and that was really interesting to do. So then I quit, and actually the city of Wuppertal had asked me already 5 years ago to take over the direction of Tanztheater Wuppertal Pina Bausch.
Right.
At that time, because I got my last child very late, and I was too much of a mother and a family person to say, okay, I go to Wuppertal and you stay here. So I said no, after having considered it very carefully. And I think Pina Bausch was a challenge for me. I really wanted it very badly to go there and become the director, because I'd always led my professional life between these two poles of very abstract dance that William Forsythe in a way stood for, and on the other hand, storytelling in a very contemporary way, the way that Pina Bausch invented with her Tanztheater. So these were the two poles I was torn between, and I like both ways. I like abstract dance a lot, the Balanchine, Cunningham sort of postmodern style, as well as storytelling. And so Pina Bausch was very familiar to me. I watched her pieces for very many years. I went to Wuppertal to see her work. I met her several times, and so I was very close to her way of working. Also because I think it's very close to literature, and I've been a person reading very much from my early childhood on. So I was very, it was very close to me in a way to read her works, to understand what she was talking about. And so that was a challenge. And I thought it was a good way to end a professional career in becoming the director of Tanztheater Wuppertal.
Oh, wow.
Thank you for sharing. You took over the position since 2019, January 1st, right?
Yes.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
So can you share with us, what is it like taking that role now?
Yeah.
Well, it's a very special situation. Actually, I thought when I decided to really go to Wuppertal and take this job, I thought that this would be probably the most exciting ensemble in the world, very courageous, very into innovative new theater projects and everything.
Yes.
What Pina was standing for me, she was always very courageous. She did things in the 70s. She created pieces that were very, very, very provocative. What she never intended, but they were like that. The people to them like that. They left the theater, slamming the doors and in a way throwing tomatoes, to the stage. And she didn't care. She just went for it because she knew very well what she wanted to talk about in dance. She wanted to get rid of this very representative and superficial surface of dance that the classical ballet had created, and she wanted to use the body language to talk about our situation, about the personal situation of her dancers, of people who, about her experience in life, about things that are important to us, that are existential to us in our life. And she really had to invent a new language for that. She didn't know how to express that, but she was sure that it was not possible on point and with classical ballet means. So really start from zero and use all the means that she had learned through the years at Juilliard School, at the Folkwang University. Also the interdisciplinary experience that she had from Folkwang, because at that time it was an art school for very, very many different forms of art, not only dance or music. So she started in a way all over, and that was something that interested me. And when I came to Wuppertal almost 1.5 years ago, I thought that we can build on that. But actually, there was this scandal about the director who was only there for a year before I came, and that all these difficulties that were there. They left the company in a very desolate situation, and so there was no way to start right away just making art and concentrating on art, but we had to cope a lot with the consequences of this experience.
You are listening to Navox Dance.
So we were pretty much concentrating again on the artistic work and on projects, and to make sure that this is still our main concern and our main goal. And I think together with the possibility for everyone in the company to talk about the difficulties that had been that had all the things that had happened before in the season with the former director and all the political circumstances around it, to talk about it and make sure they have a forum to talk about these things and about their experience, together with the artistic work and challenge. I think we made a pretty good start, considering how difficult it was. And this season, the last season, and this first half of the season were very successful. We did We did wonderful performances, and we had also very challenging new projects like Bluebird, which we did in January, a piece that hadn't been performed for over 25 years.
Oh, wow.
Pina has created it in the 70s. It was 43 years old, actually. We recreated it. We restored it with only new young dancers and from the Folkwang University and freelancers. So it was an ensemble of only people between 20 and 30, the same age as Pina's dancers were when they created the piece, actually.
Oh.
So this was an experiment, and it worked. The people loved it. The audience went for it, and really. And for me, that showed what a quality these pieces still have. The last thing we wanted to do right now, we just produced 7 Deadly Sins again with a very good cast.
Yeah.
Also, that Pina in the 70s, she really tried to try out a lot of conventional, traditional genres. Like she worked with opera, she worked with Shakespeare texts. She sort of musical. She did this. The 7 Deadly Sins goes back to the composition and the words of Bertolt Brecht and Kurt Weill. And it needs an orchestra and singers and actors and dancers, and so she really experimented and tried to find a way through all these genres and their qualities and their means. And then the years after, she developed her own way of working with it, and she just used everything she could. She didn't stop in front of anything. She just used all the means she had: text, words, acrobatic, dance, acting, whatever. She just used everything she could, and she thought was in the right place. And 7 Deadly Sins was a big production that we did last month, and actually this month. It's not so. It seems it has been because we stayed home now and we couldn't anymore. But actually, it was in March, and we were supposed to go to Paris with it, and then we were supposed to go to the USA with Palermo, and we had to cancel everything. So 7 Deadly Sins, we had only 3 or 4 performances. It was a success again, and I think it was a very, very good result on stage with very good singers and actors, with Merit Becker, who's a very good actress here, very famous in Germany, with Johanna Wokalek, also a film actress, and with Ute Lemper, who's an international star in interpreting Brecht Weill songs as a soloist. It was a very good cast, and we had fun. It was a wonderful result. We had wonderful performances, but then we had to stop, and all the further performances were not allowed anymore. And so now we're at home, and
According to the recent press release the company publicized in March 17th, you said in the face of the growing threat of COVID-19 spreading globally, traveling is out of the question right now, but we do hope to return to Paris soon, and that our USA tour, we postponed it, not canceled. And I love you said every crisis also provides an opportunity. We may have time to do things here in Wuppertal that we never usually find the time for in our busy everyday lives. Bettina, so the circumstance, of the coronavirus, how has that affected your company? Could you share a little bit?
We're talking a lot about loneliness, because of this isolation and this sort of retreat, if you want to call it like that, is easier for families or for people who live in a partnership or something. For everybody who's alone, it's difficult. And we have dancers from all over the world. Right. And some of them, of course, come here. They don't know so many people. And it's hard for everybody to just be forced to stay at home, not seeing anybody, not talking to anybody, not being able to go out. And apart from that, they can't have class at the moment. We say that for 2 weeks we all stay home, and then we'll see what happens and how the situation develops, and what the regulations that the government gives out will look like, what they tell us to do, and what they allow us to do. So it has changed, I think, the sensitivity to the to ask more what other people, which situation other people are in, and what they think. And we exchange a lot of emails and thoughts, and and normally you don't have time for that because you're just into your normal way of working, and there's one thing after the other you have to take care of, and then all these demands that of everyday life that you have to cope with. And now we do home office, everyone, but of course it's less than the normal work, because at the moment we don't have to prepare a performance, we don't have to take care of press work or something, write texts or anything. I mean, and it's a different situation, and you take more time also to think about the situation you're in. And I think if you watch the worldwide development, it's very amazing that we now can that we're suddenly able to not travel, not see other people, not go out, not spend money on things, not go for a drink. That we suddenly have to stay with the minimum.
Right.
And we were not ready to do that for the environment, for all the dangers that we know are there, because we're killing this planet constantly, and nobody seems to have the will really to say, okay, we have to stop that. We have to stop for a moment and think about how we can go on. We definitely can't go on like this. And suddenly with this coronavirus, everything stops,
Right.
Stops, the international exchanges stop, the transfer of products stop, the traveling stops. There are no flights anymore. And suddenly it works. The hotels that nobody can travel as a tourist anymore. I mean, everything can stop suddenly, and I think this is a chance also to try to think about what's going to be the world after this has happened. Will we go on, go back to the situation we were in before and just go on the way we always did, or do you use these experience that we go through and try to change things, and to find out that maybe this turbo capitalism is not the only thing we should be interested in, to keep it going, because we see that where it ends up,
Right. How do you think that has affected you creatively?
Don't forget to say no to the box.
Well, actually, that I don't know. I think that the choreographers that I was always interested in, that I worked with, they all cope with political situations. So this work that we wanted to bring out in June, called Encounters, which is a very special and very very special and very unusual project in a way, because it combines 5 choreographers, and 3 of them bring their own dancers. Like Richard Siegel brings one of his dancers, Claudia Araiza from Costa Rica. Monica Gintersdorfer brings 3 African dancers from Côte d'Ivoire and Burkina Faso, I think they come from. And Sidi Labi Chakawi brings 3 from his company Eastman. And they all work together with Knut Klaassen, who's the set designer, with our dancers. And this whole evening is about encountering other people, encountering the strange, the unknown, the unusual, mixing body languages that you've never before been in contact with, like African style of moving together with meeting Pina Bausch's body language, meeting Claudia Araiza, who grew up with classical ballet, and all these choreographers, Richard Siegel, Rainer Beer, Monika Gintersdorfer, Helena Waldmann, and Sidi Labi Chakawi, they cope with political topics, and but not in a way like agitprop theater or something like that. But they cope with the consequences to the people. How do these developments affect our everyday life, our emotional life, our way we treat each other, our future?
Right.
This is what this evening will be about. And I think, in a way, through this impulse of the situation that we're all in at the moment, this evening will also change and go into different directions than it would originally have gone to.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like a very globally diverse group.
Yes, absolutely, it is. Company is already, that was Pina's concern always. She always wanted people from all over the world. She wanted to deal with different traditions, with different backgrounds, with also different musical traditions, and she wanted to deal with people who grew up in a totally different surrounding than we here as Middle Europeans. So she always built her company out of people that came from everywhere, and she was very interested in that. And she also did all these co-productions, as you know. She did these cooperations with cities and with countries, like with Chile, with Brazil.
That's amazing.
Portugal, and with Hungary, and with Japan. And she always went there with the whole company, doing research on everyday life, on special traditions, on music, on dance traditions, on everything she was interested in.
Yeah, it seems like the company is based on a lot of creating connections. It seems like that word keeps coming up to my mind, that it's all about you connecting to the dancers, to everybody, the dancers connecting to you, Pina connecting to the world, and how that connects to the works and connects to the dancers. And it's just like this cyclical cycle that I see, that to me it seems like it's so important, and you know, connecting with other cultures.
Yes, but I think it's in a way it was like a microcosmos of what should go on in the world, you know. But that's what she understood it as a labor situation, in a laboratory, in a way where she could try out these living together with these different people coming from all over the world, bringing their experience into the pieces, but also in the way they live together, they work together, the working processes. And I think this is, I know that Richard Siegel, who is part of this Encounters evening, he's somebody I work with for very many years, and he's also somebody who tries to profit from that. He founded this company called Ballet of Difference, which is also based on the difference of the people. They come from very, very many different countries, but also from different traditions, from different bringing ups in dance, but also in their private lives. And to work with all these, to exchange these experience and to talk about it, and to find out what frightens me, what is totally unusual to me, what would I if I had to do it, but what would I love, and how can I also transform especially the way of dancing, of moving. That when we were in the studio, and what I watched when he did one of the first rehearsals was very beautiful, when he met Monika Gintersdorfer with her African dancers, and they met our dancers, some of them, and Claudia Araiza, and they all sort of showed their own way of moving, and then the others took the material and transformed it into their own bodies and made something totally different out of it, and very, very carefully and slowly approached the others in their way of expressing themselves. And that was a very special situation, and very, very touching, and also very rich in the evening after 6 hours, 8 hours of rehearsal. It was fantastic to see how close you come to the other and how much fun it is,
right.
It was fantastic, and I think it's it was a good start, and we hope that encounters can take place. We all don't know what happens in April, May, June. If any of the theaters in Germany can perform again or not, and it very much depends on how this coronavirus infection goes.
Right.
On.
Hopefully.
Yeah. We are all very good, and we hope that people are behaving, according to the regulations, and
right.
They are reasonable, and everybody should understand that they are very necessary. And the more we cope, we stay with them, the better. And the more, the sooner this crisis will go survived, by hopefully as many people as possible.
Yes. Bettina, do you have any advice for the choreographers or other artistic directors who are running the company? Because I think on social media, dance educators have been sharing a lot of resources how to switch dance classes to online. But I think we have lack of information how dance companies are dealing with the situation, like financially, how they communicate with professional dancers. So do you have any advice?
Create, discuss, and advocate for art. No box dance.
Well, not really advice, because I'm not more intelligent than anybody else. We all try to cope with this situation. And of course, the big companies, which are supported by the state or by the city, they can survive this situation much better than all the freelancers. We have a huge and very creative and very important freelance fringe scene in Germany and everywhere in Europe, and these people are not supported. They have no engagement where they are paid continuously. So they really risk their existence in these times, and I think we have to be very very aware of how we can support these people, also in our own interest, because if this goes on too long, we will lose this fringe scene and we will lose all these people. And it's hard to say if afterwards we can just start and recreate everything. It will be like a desert, and it will really be a big task to make it blooming again. And I think that's why we really have to stay together. And I know that there is a big change at the moment, and I'm also part of it, and our company is part of it, in giving advice to the politicians, to the government, how to support these people and what to do with the funding for the special emergency funding that they are creating at the moment. Support them, but it has to be done in a special way, and we're in very close exchange with all the institutions and representatives of these different people, like the Ballet Directors Conference and the Dachverband, which is something like a gremium that where all the people of the dance scene meet. Scene, and also established companies, the big companies, ballet companies in Germany, and we talk a lot about these things, and we also give recommendations to the politicians how to cope with this situation, because many these politicians, they are really willing to help, but a lot of them just know anything about the working processes and about the situations these people live in and work in, and do that in order to really be able to help them properly and according to their needs at the moment. And this all has to happen very, very quickly, so there's not much time to think about things and to do research or anything. So it happen now, because otherwise they can't even pay their rent anymore. There's a big solidarity in this scene, and I see it on the social media that everybody's talking about it, and that we are all pretty aware of this this network that we have to keep in order to not lose anybody from this scene, and not say, okay, we're helped, so we're lucky, and don't care about the others.
Yeah. How do you see this idea of social media? How do you see people, or how do you see people consuming social media currently? How do you think that's evolving?
No, I was never so much into social media because, I don't know. It's all too quick for me to maybe not going deeply enough in the conversations. But at the moment, I feel that the social media are really a big help, because you can really exchange with the whole world, and we can profit from the experience of other companies in other countries. We know what they do, how they handle their, not having class for a couple of weeks. For classical companies, that's really hard. And I can do home office, but dancers can't really work at home. You can do something in your living room, but you have to have the fantasy to really think about it. What can we do there? It's also a challenge, and it's good to know what other people do. And we do a lot of exchange, and we exchange also links of training, of classes, and of training programs, and of yoga classes, whatever, that we reach to each other. And then people post their own little excerpts of teaching. Right. Or they record their workshops and put them on Instagram or on Facebook, and the others can watch it. And I see that there's a big exchange. It's like on our Instagram account, we posted some little excerpts of, 20 seconds of some of the pieces, and
yes.
had like 6,000 followers in one day or something. It went up like that, So I think that's really a big advantage now that we have these social media that can be used so easily by everybody and approached by everybody, and there's access to all this knowledge and to all this experience of other people, and you can ask questions, and there's certainly somebody who can help you and ask and answer you, and that's fantastic.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing. I hate to say this, but we also aware of your time, so it is time to wrap up. But before we wrap up, do you have anything you want to share with our audience?
Well, what I said before, I think it's very, very necessary that we all are aware of the chance that we get through this, right. Standing still and watching what's going on around us, and being more sensitive to others, and going back to caring for other people, and not only see your own interests and fight for them, but go back to the roots of what human beings should do to each other. Right. being attentive and look after others, and be aware that there are people who are weaker than you and who need your help, and stay together in a way, because this is an enemy, this virus that nobody knows. A little bit, it reminded me of the Chernobyl accident long ago. This enemy that you don't see, that is somewhere hiding, and you never right. know attacks. So it's a frightening situation for everybody, and we don't know how long it will take us to overcome this situation. So I think it's good to to really concentrate on the important on the important things that happen between people. And as my daughter said a couple of days ago, the important things in life are not things.
Yep, there you go.
There you go.
Drop the mic.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I'm getting emotional. Okay, as we wrap up, we have our flash forward portion, sorry, where we ask all our guests to answer 4 questions in a flash. You ready?
Yeah.
Flash forward.
Okay, good. Question number 1. If you had to recommend a resource to our audience, what would it be?
Literature.
Literature.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, number 2. What was the first dance you saw?
Romeo and Juliet by John Krenkel.
Do you think social media has a positive influence on the dance world? Yes or no?
Yes, it does.
Nice. All right, and last but not least, what is your favorite social media platform?
At the moment, it's Instagram.
Yes, mine too. Let's go.
Oh. Well, thank you so much, Bettina, to sharing your time in this busy, hard period of time.
It was nice talking to you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for taking your time to tune into Dance Behind the Screen, a bi-monthly interview series where we go behind the screen to question process, product, and social media. Be sure to follow us on social media at KNOW Box Dance. See you next time, and don't forget to say no to the box.